It's the day after President Trump's State of the Union address. What did he say that affects our country, our economic growth, and your money? How's real estate growing in Chicago? Olga from Sotheby's, Chicago says buyers are still flocking to high-tax city Chicago because of quality of life benefits. And the NASDAQ takes bold leadership within the leading quadrant on the World Index Relative Rotation Graph. Caution! What's in your portfolio? If you don't know, you should. If you want to know, we can help. Here's what's moving the markets and your money. I'm Charles Brown. It's Wednesday, January 31st, and this is CB3 on 3. CB3 on 3 analyzes political, fundamental, and technical influences on market behavior, which thus affects your money. Together, these influences determine the movements in all the portfolios we manage. Here's what we're seeing this week. In political influences, in his first State of the Union address, President Trump extended an open hand to Democrats. On immigration, he touted his tax reform law and issued more warnings to North Korea. President Trump appealed for common ground in the immigration debate Tuesday night while holding firm on his demands for border security and using that grand setting to tout the fact that 3 million Americans have already received economic benefits from the recently passed tax reform law. Trump proudly declared, "There's never been a better time to start living the American dream, and that's because Americans are dreamers too." Here's my take on the political implications for our investments. President Trump's State of the Union address was optimistic and a nod towards compromise. Now both parties must man up and pass immigration reform and infrastructure spending to rebuild the U.S. The massive $1.5 trillion infrastructure overhaul he recommended will help us as investors as well as the U.S. economy. We Americans need and should demand that our congressional representatives write and pass infrastructure legislation. Truth is, we need a bickering and uncooperative Congress about as much as a fish needs a bicycle. In fundamental influences, the real estate market is booming in low-tax cities and states, but it's also alive and well in Chicago. Olga from Sotheby's, Chicago, says buyers are still flocking to high-tax city Chicago because of the quality of life benefits. Olga told us there are quite a few buyers coming in for corporate relocations to the Windy City, as well as buyers from China looking for investing in their own personal residences, as well as looking to Chicago for investment property opportunities. She says that even though Chicagoans may not benefit much from the new tax reform law, there are still plenty of reasons that make Chicago an attractive real estate market, especially for cash flow positive rental properties.
You cannot get what you have in Illinois anywhere else. We have the opera, we have the museums, we have the jazz clubs, we have so much. Illinois offers such a great infrastructure, and for those of you who like entertainment, it's priceless.
Here's my take on the fundamental implications for our investments. As a portfolio manager, experience has taught me that our investors benefit most when there is a pro-growth, low-tax policy across the USA. The tax reform law certainly endorses that policy. High-tax city Chicago real estate appears to be an exception, but long-term, the high-tax states and cities in the USA will be left out of the next stage of American affluence if those cities and states maintain their egregiously high tax structure. State and city legislators must work together to reduce taxes in their municipalities. In technical influences, the NASDAQ has taken bold leadership within the leading quadrant on the World Index Relative Rotation Graph, and the S&P 500 has turned back into the leading quadrant, which is also encouraging. Drilling down into the sector level graph, the consumer discretionary sector, which represents companies that sell goods and services to consumers that spend extra dollars over and beyond necessities, is exiting the improving quadrant and is heading into the leading quadrant. It bodes well for us as investors' consumer sentiment that Americans are comfortable spending on life enhancements above and beyond their basic needs. That is a positive for us as investors because it means Americans remain confident on their economic future. And that's CB3 on 3 for Wednesday, January 31st. What's in your portfolio? If you don't know, you should. And if you want to know, we can help. In the comments section below, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what appealed to you in this video. We'd really appreciate that. I'm Charles Brown at CB3 Financial Group. We don't just manage your assets, we become one of them.